We'll have introductions.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Dax Lopez, and for the last 6 years, it's been my honor to serve as one of your state court judges here in DeKalb County. I have the honor and privilege of serving on the most diverse court in the state of Georgia. We currently have 4 African American judges, 1 of only 4 Asian judges, and 1 of only 2 Hispanic judges in the entire state. I'll give you one guess who that might be. I still believe that the law is the most important tool we have to preserve our families and our communities by ensuring justice for all. And for the last 6 years, it's been my pleasure to ensure that justice has been served for the citizens of DeKalb County. Tonight, I hope to earn your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now hear from Roderick.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Roderick Bridges, and for the last 13 years, I've had the honor and privilege of serving you as your state and traffic court judge. Now I'm seeking to be your next state court judge. I've worked very hard in the courts and the judicial system to build a more efficient and effective court. I've worked to reduce the backlog in the courts. I worked to bring justice to every individual that came before the court. I want to continue to serve you, and I look forward to serving you, so I ask for your vote on May the 24th, 2016.
Thank you, Mr. Bridges. Now we will have questions from the journalist panel. We'll start with Judge.
Dax, you've been on the bench for 6 years. What was your most challenging problem when you got to the court, and how did you fix it? And for if you were elected to the state court, we can't hear the question. If you were elected to the state court, what would you do? What would be the first thing that you would do?
Well, over the last 6 years, one of the problems I've noticed in DeKalb County is that we're a very diverse county. 100 languages are spoken in DeKalb County on any given day. We don't have enough interpreters to do. We don't have enough qualified interpreters to service this community. Since the time that I've been, I'm sorry, I can't see the questioners. Since the time that I've taken the bench, I've become a member of the Commission on Interpreters. And I've been working diligently to ensure that we have enough qualified interpreters to deal with the issues that we have that come through our courts every single day. It is very difficult for our community to come through and understand what's going on. Imagine if you're from another country and you don't speak the language, let alone understand our laws. So without qualified interpreters and folks who are ready and able and willing to help those individuals, we can't provide enough access to justice. Access to justice is one of the biggest issues that we have here in DeKalb County.
Another question from the panel.
Yeah, she asked me a question.
She did. Sorry, I'm taking care of some
I understand. One of the things I've identified, and it may be because of my background, I actually have a master's in public health. And one of the things I understand and I see in the community all the time is that we have a significant problem with mental health in the community. We really need to address that problem on all levels. And I think the state court is an excellent place to start addressing it. Many of these individuals come to the state court, we may find them and charge them with DUIs, and they're charged with DUIs, but there's a bigger problem than the DUI that we actually need to address, and that addresses the mental health issue, the mental health aspect. With my background in public health and my experience with dealing with individuals with mental health, I think it would be an excellent opportunity for me to actually start a program to actually address that. I've actually worked with mental health people not in the private community and in different organizations to help individuals get back on tracks. And that's one of the things I actually utilized when I was on the bench in the traffic court. So that's one of the things I would actually start addressing the mental health issue.
Thank you. Let's take a question from Mark.
For Judge Lopez, I'd like to hear about what you took away from the federal nominating process, if you learned anything from that. And Mr. Bridges, you were a former reporters court judge. That court is no longer in operation, and I wanted to hear your thoughts on whether it was right to abolish that court and why you're running for this position after serving on that court.
Let's start with Mr. Bridges first.
I think it was right to abolish reporters court. At the time, we had a statute that did not reflect the current law, so the court could not operate properly. Well, it could operate properly, but it was on a technicality. And I didn't think a court of that size should be operating on a technicality. So it was probably good that we actually, Mike Jacob entered the legislation and changed the dynamics of the court. Now you're at the state level, so you have the body of the state law behind you to actually operate that court. So yes, I've learned a lot in my 13 years as a traffic court judge, and I've also had the opportunity to sit on the state court. So I've had those two mixes together. So I have a vast amount of experience. One of the things that I was able to do is I was able to identify that a large group of the individuals that came to the court were of low-income poverty levels, and we need to do more to actually assist them and help them in the community. And that's one of the programs that I started at the court.
Thank you, Mr. Britt. Can everybody hear now? No. Still can't hear. And if you can hold the microphone a little closer. There was a question from Mr. Lopez. Judge Lopez.
All right, the question had to do with the federal nomination. For those of you that don't know, President Barack Obama nominated me to be a federal district court judge last July, which is one of the greatest honors that I've ever received in my life. As you all know, there's a little bit of gridlock in D.C. right now, and it's not easy to get through the nomination process, and I sort of ran into some of those issues. What I've learned is that we have over-politicized our judiciary. The judicial system should be the one system that isn't politicized. We want judges who are independent, who have bipartisan support on both sides, because justice is not partisan, and it should never be partisan. So I am proud that I'm one of those judges that has bipartisan support, have always had bipartisan support, and I hope to continue working here for the citizens of DeKalb County. Thank you.
Thank you. Question from Greg.
Thank you. If the audience will bear with me, I'm going to actually kind of readdress both of those issues. Judge Lopez, you're running for, you want the people of DeKalb County to send you back to the state court for 4 years, and yet we know that you have been nominated for a federal judgeship. The presumption being that perhaps, depending on what happens in the future, your name might come back up. Can the voters of DeKalb County be assured that if elected, you're going to be here for 4 years, or if the phone rings from the White House, are you gone, and is the governor going to be appointing someone else?
That was a great question. Look, I did it once, I'm not dumb enough to do it twice. Okay? It is a difficult process. When the president calls and says, we want you to serve at a higher level, it's hard to say no to the president of the United States. And so I said yes, I answered the call. But now I've always been a happy state court judge. I've never sought another office. I don't intend to seek another office. I'm going to serve the people of DeKalb County faithfully and with integrity, as I've done for the last 6 years.
Thank you. And Ms. Bridges, returning to your, as you mentioned, you were on the Recorder's Court for 13 years, is that correct? The Recorder's Court, as we know, was abolished by the act of the legislature after having been sued in federal court over violations of due process, years-long violations of due process, including the failure to appear courts, which is one of the programs that you heralded. Now you want to be a judge on the state court. What confidence can the people, the litigants in DeKalb County have that they will receive due process from someone who was on that court which was somewhat ignominiously dissolved?
So he mentioned the failure to appear court that I created. When I created that court, we had individuals who missed court, misdemeanor charges, and the only way they can get back on the calendar was go to jail, basically. So I created this court so these poor people wouldn't have to go to jail. They actually could come talk to me. And when they talked to me and they resolved their case instead of going to jail. So not only did I save the taxpayers money for these individuals going to jail, I gave them an opportunity to resolve their case without going to jail, get their license back, and be more productive citizens. Understand, the 3 years that I actually ran the court, we didn't get one complaint, one suit. Once I stopped running the court, that's when we actually started getting those suits. And if you actually take time and look at all those suits, one thing you will find in my 13 years, my name does not appear on any of those suits.
Can you please hold your applause? And just to follow up on that, I'll start with the judge here. How do you balance protecting the public versus concerns about mass incarceration of minorities and poor people?
We are extremely blessed in DeKalb County to have a lot of alternative sentencing programs, which I'm a huge proponent of. Primarily, the accountability courts, which deal with mental health issues. We're going to have a veterans court, I personally preside over the DUI court in DeKalb because I firmly believe that treatment for individuals that have substance abuse issues are more important than incarceration for those individuals. If I lock somebody up for a year who has a serious alcohol issue, what's the first thing they're going to do when they get out? They're going to have a drink. But if I deal with the underlying issue and I can prevent that person from drinking and driving again, I've made them a more productive citizen, I've reestablished their family connections, I've made them better at work, and I make the community safer, and it doesn't cost you a penny because they have to pay for their own treatment. So I'm a firm believer in alternative sentencing programs, accountability courts, anything that helps address the issue that's creating the criminal offense. And I will always do that, and I've done that for the last 6 years.
Thank you, Mr. Bridges. I'll give you an opportunity. I know you kind of touched on some of the things you've done, but
Yeah, I have to agree with Dax on this because it is true. We need that type of addressing the issues from not just a criminal aspect. The court is designed for three things. It's to rehabilitate, punish, and deter. Over the years, judges have just punished, and that's what they continuously done, punish. We didn't get to the rehabilitation aspect. That's something I focus on throughout my 13-year career, rehabilitating these individuals. Because the fact of the matter is, no matter how long we lock them up, eventually they're going to get out. And we want them to be productive individuals in the community. So we do use diversion programs. We do use alternative sentences. We do use treatments. And that's something in the new judicial reform that we've been doing, but that's something I've been doing for the last 13 years. And I've been doing it everywhere I've sat as a judge.
thank you. A question from Jennifer?
Judge Lopez, if you're returned for another term, is there anything in particular that you're hoping to accomplish in the next 4 years? And then for Mr. Bridges, why do you want to be a state court judge?
Well, I truly believe that justice delayed is justice denied. So for the last 6 years, I've worked very diligently to ensure that we have an efficient courtroom. We don't dally with cases. My cases move quickly. I have absolutely no backlog whatsoever because I believe that your case is important and your case has to get to trial or disposition somehow. Now, what I hope to do to make it even more efficient is something that I've already been working on, is making the system paperless. We are going to an e-file system, and I've spearheaded that system because we're going to get cases moving a lot faster than they already are. And let me tell you right now, from incident date to disposition on a criminal case, we're looking at 60 to 90 days. That is very quick. On the civil side, not a single case is older than 2 years. If you go to Fulton County right now, cases are languishing 4, 5, 6 years before you get to trial. I've never let that happen. Justice delayed is justice denied, and I will continue to make sure that my court is one of the most efficient, backlog-free courts in the metro area. Thank you.
Thank you. Question from Mark. You want to? Okay.
I think the biggest thing is that I'm committed to serving in this court. Contrary to what was said, my colleague has not withdrawn his name from the federal nomination. So there's still a possibility that he may move on to the federal court, which means the governor will actually do the next appointment. If you know, the governor has appointed our last 4 judges, including my colleague. And I think it's time that the citizens get to choose who they want as their next state court judge. And they should be able to choose someone that has over 13 years of experience, that's familiar with the court, and capable of stepping in and running the court in an effective and efficient manner. And that's why I'm running for state court judge. I bring that to the bench. I brought that to the bench, and I will continue to bring that to the bench. The programs that I instituted at the court, I instituted those while I was there. It didn't take me 13 years to start them. I started them because I saw a need in the community for it to be done. And I've done that throughout my career, bridging the gap between the community and the judicial system.
Question from Mark.
Mr. Bridges, a follow-up on that. You could have run for a number of judicial positions, but you chose this one for state court. There's also a new state court traffic court, which is more similar to what Recorder's Court did. Why did you choose to challenge Judge Lopez in particular? Is there something that you would do different or a contrast with him? And I'd also like to give Judge Lopez an opportunity to respond.
I would have made sure Senator Perdue got him nominated and sent to the bench. That's what I would have did. When we started this process, we did not, I have no beef with Lopez. We've been friends for years. I've actually sat for him. He's one of the judges that gave me an opportunity to sit on the state court bench. But when we set out, we started to run against for Lopez's seat. And so that's the seat we chose. And we will continue to do that. I am concerned that whether he's going to be here in the next 4 years, because there is still a possibility that he will move on to the federal bench. At that point in time, once again, the governor will actually appoint the next state court judge. And contrary to his view, I don't think there are no African Americans on Division 1 of the state court. So there is a vacancy of African Americans on the state court, Division 1.
We're close to wrapping up this panel discussion. One more question from Greg.
Well, I'll make this one an easy one for you. You've both been out campaigning. You're both judges. You're both lawyers. You talk to lawyers all the time. What are you hear that they want from you as a state court judge? What do you hear, Mr. Bridges, that maybe they're not getting from the state court judges that they want?
Well, I didn't get a chance to respond.
If you can answer the question.
Well, I'm going to respond to Mark's question, which is what's the difference between the two of us? I am bound by the law and by the rules of ethics. My opponent is not. That's the bottom line. He was suspended from the bench because he jailed a public defender without due process and without giving the process that you would give a normal criminal defendant. That is wrong, and we had to suspend him from the bench. That's the difference between my opponent and I. I will be here in the next 4 years. I'm not going anywhere. So I appreciate your support, and I look forward to continuing doing the work of the people of DeKalb County.
Thank you, Mr. Bridges.
Yes, a little birdie told me that somebody will be up here telling lies regarding my record. It's clear, it's simple. We are in DeKalb County. We are one of the most watched counties in the state. That means the news media is on top of us 24/7. If I did something improper, you would have heard about it. So go Google Roger Bridges in the paper, on the Google, however you want to do, and see if you find anything consistent with what he just said. You won't, because it's a lie. Basic as that. I can't change facts, it's a lie. So that is my response to that. I've served for 13 years on this bench unblemished. I have served for him when in his absence. So I have the experience and knowledge and the capability of serving as your next state court judge. I also have the integrity, the honesty, and the compassion to take care of the people in the community. And that's a simple fact. So vote for me on May the 24th.
Thank you. We will now have closing statements. We'll start with Mr. Lopez.
Ladies and gentlemen, for the last 6 years, I've endeavored hard to make sure that every person that walks into my courtroom is treated with fairness and with respect. And for the next decade, or for the next 4 years, I'm going to do the same thing. That work has led to my recognition by President Obama himself. It's got me endorsements from Congressman Hank Johnson, Commissioner Marita Johnson, State Reps Doreen Carter, Jason Carter, Mary Martin Oliver, Scott Holcomb, Elena Parent. The list goes on. The reason why I have all those endorsements is because I've worked hard for the people of DeKalb County. I'm going to continue to work hard to ensure that each of you feels like you're respected and treated fairly if you ever walk into my courtroom. And I thank you for your vote. You can check my website at daxfordecalb.com. Thank you.
Mr. Bridges.
I'm Roger Bridges, and I'm running for state court judge. I bring to the bench honesty, integrity, and compassion. I'm an interested judge. I serve in the community and the church, bridging the gap between the community and the church, making sure that there's a relationship there and that you have a door that you walk through, and you can trust that when you walk through that door, that you'll have a judge that will respond to you. I ask that you vote for me on May the I ask you to vote for me. I got two different cards. Yeah, I ask you to vote for me on May the 24th.